Yeah, thank you. Thank you to all here. Also, welcome to the stream. We are.
Hello, I'm Mag, so you may have seen me yesterday, and I'm a member of Pastagang.
I'm Lucy, you may also have seen me yesterday, and I'm also a member of Pastagang.
And I'm Hannes, and I'm here because I'm a member of Pastagang. But we're only part of Pastagang, we're not the Pastagang. So who here in this room is part of Pastagang? Please raise your hands. Okay, everyone else also raise your hand. Go ahead, because you're all part of Pastagang. Woo! So these are some of the other faces that you might have seen on the internet on Pastagang. And we are like making the point because, well, this presentation will explain why this is the way it is. And now I've lost my train of thought. So I'm just going to continue. Pastagang, for me, personally, is like this radical open group of people jamming together. It's lots of learning stuff. I've learned to live code through Pastagang. I'm like the whole world of live coding opened up to me because of Pastagang.
Yeah, to me it's like this really just open kind of massively participatory collective where you all just get together and make space for each other's creativity, and it feels really energetic and fun to do that.
And for me, I'll talk about this a little bit more later as well, but Pastagang represents what I think is the real heart of live coding, which is kind of openness and the ability to experiment and make mistakes and to have safety in doing that.
So now we're going to show you what Pastagang looks like in practice. This is a screen recording of one of our sessions. And what you can see here is a massive just website called noodle.cc. You can go to it right now. And it's a big shared Strudel document. And each of these cursors with a name is a different person in a different browser all over the world. And we're all editing the same code. And we're all listening to the results of the same code. And the sounds and the lights that you're seeing are all done in this way. And anyone can join in. There's no password, there's no user, well, there are usernames. We don't like gatekeep. Anyone can hop on this website and join in the jam. And that's at the core of what Pastagang is doing. So Lucy's going to talk more about live coding in general.
Yeah, so I think we've just seen an example of live coding, and if you're at the concert last night, you will have seen me doing that as well, which is basically just people using code as a tool for live performance. Lou, don't come for me with my definition of live coding. And I want to talk a little bit, so I've been live coding since like the end of 2015, so quite a long time now. And when I first started live coding, I went to some workshops and I hung out with lots of really experienced live coders, and they all said live coding is about embracing error. It's about making mistakes and being okay with that. And it's about creating space for performances that are maybe a little bit wonky, or maybe your computer crashes and something goes wrong. And over the last 10 years, I've really tried to embrace that and take it to heart in my own performances, and to see that as something to be enjoyed and relished, and to move away from striving for perfection in performance. And I think that's a really important part of live coding. However, also over the last 10 years, I've seen an increasing movement towards like super polished, amazing live coding sets. And there's nothing wrong with that inherently, but I think for me, I really love that ethos of like it being fine to be a bit scrappy. And so when I encountered Pastagang, which has this built-in ethos of like anything goes, that we'll talk about maybe a little bit more later, that was super exciting for me, because I felt that really got back to the heart of what live coding was for me, what I found so exciting about it when I started, and what I felt was a very kind of permissive environment for new people to come in and try something out with like extremely low barriers to entry. Who's talking about this?
Yeah. So as I said earlier, I went into the world of live coding through Pastagang. So for me, a really big and important part of that was being invited in with like open arms and open websites. And the ethos which you can read in this quote of like someone comes in and says, "Oh, I'm just gonna like watch for a bit," and like everyone else is like, "No, please join in, please do make mistakes because we all make them too." And for me personally, in the beginning, I copied out like code, changed it to understand it, and then like pasted it in again. Side note, that doesn't work anymore. More on that later. And it's like join in and make mistakes. That's a huge part of what enables like new people to come in.
Yeah, likewise, Pastagang was also my first experience of live coding, and in contrast with Lucy, who's like an experienced live coder. And so this attitude of just join in and try stuff is really important. And like I wouldn't be standing here today without Pastagang making that effort. And there are all sorts, I think the fact that it's live coding makes it easy to influence the music without understanding music theory. I've taken part in traditional like jazz jams and folk music sessions, and those are still very participatory, but they have a much like higher level of background knowledge in order to be involved. Like I have the background to know all the jazz scales and play them like at the speed of you have to play them for a jazz song. But like that took years to get to that point. And likewise with folk music. Whereas with Pastagang, you know, the first half an hour I was in Noodle, I just left comments on other people's code going, oh, this sounds great. And then I was like, oh, maybe I can change that number. Or I saw someone do this earlier, and I like it when all the drums play twice as quick as they were before, and then they go back to half speed. I think that sounds really great. So I can do that. And you don't have to necessarily understand very much, really, to make that happen. And that's really enabling and a big part of it for me. So, oh, I'm still talking. So this is another part of that, which is we have these things called mantras, which scroll across the top of the screen on Noodle. And they're basically little mottos that we try and keep in the front of our mind when we're acting as part of Pastagang and in the rest of our life as well. So a big one of these is let code die. And this means, in even fewer words, make space. And it also means don't get hung up if someone else deletes your code, because it makes room for you to write more code. It makes room for the song to change, for it to progress, for there to be variance and interest. And it's also a useful attitude to carry into life in general. And yeah, we have other mantras. I don't know if either of you want to talk about one of them.
I will just continue to cursor land instead. From time to time, you see like little like ASCII art buildings or like rooms pop up in the room, and then people like sit there and enjoy the jam going on. And like these are representations of your own self as a cursor. Like your identity in the room is this little box with your name on it, and you can choose a color. And from over time, you notice that different like characters move differently, even though their name might change or the color might change. You can still recognize the people behind the cursors, and in a way, it's like an alter ego that develops through this medium.
Do I need to really say anything? I speak to this line. So yeah, as Hannes was explaining, like we all do have our individual identities within Pastagang, and we were at my house on Thursday night, like preparing for this talk and like chatting about Pastagang and thinking like actually the three of us wouldn't have met, like we all met through Pastagang, and now we're all like hanging out in my house cooking pasta on a Thursday night. And that is a very individual experience, right? Like there are individuals in Pastagang, but at the same time, because of the nature of the jam and because it's so open and permissive and anybody can join and anybody can delete your code or anybody can change your code, and you don't necessarily know who's done what unless you are really watching them at the time and you know who's behind that cursor. And so in a way, there is no I in Pastagang. And it's this really nice kind of duality and tension between people bringing their individual personalities to the jam, but then also not only like not having to worry about like who you are as an individual in there, but actually not being able to, because everything is so belongs to everybody, right? So as a result, everything that Pastagang makes is made by Pastagang. We have no individual kind of accreditation that like Lucy did this or Hannes did this or Mags did this. Everything is by Pastagang, and so we let go of that pressure of attribution, meaning that, again, there's just that freedom to experiment and try things because you don't have that ego telling you, what if somebody thinks this is bad? What if you embarrass yourself? What if you do something wrong? It's just not possible. And really, it's not just about the jam, but everything is made by Pastagang. So not just the music and the visuals that we make inside Noodle, but also
the tool itself. Noodle is made by Pastagang, and like we don't check merge requests, we just click merge without reviewing, and then you get admin access and like can just push code directly without like stupid merge requests. Just push it, and like we jam the tool, and you usually find people like in the tool and changing the tool, and then like, oh yeah, you need to refresh. I just changed the thing, and that happens quite a lot actually.
We also jam lots of other things. So one thing I want to say is we jam albums. So you all in Pastagang have now released 3 albums. Congratulations. You should put that on your CVs. But also, as Pastagang, you have written like 15 blog posts. Well done. And this is part of the blog. You can just contribute to it. We make it as easy as possible. You write Markdown and upload it onto Codeberg, or if you're me, you do it incorrectly and upload a HTML document, and it's different, but it still works. And we encourage anyone to contribute to this and give their ideas as to what Pastagang is. And we drew on this sort of collective knowledge as part of writing this talk.
My first contribution to Pastagang, I think, was a blog post. We also have a podcast, which is also very jam-oriented. So again, on Thursday night, we were at my house just chatting, and we thought, we should just record this and upload it as a podcast in a totally unstructured and chaotic way, which is now available on the internet for you to listen to us preparing this talk in a really roundabout way, so you can hear some of the behind-the-scenes background knowledge of why we're talking about the things we're talking about. Or you could actually just make a Pastagang podcast as well yourself. And we also jammed a paper. Should I talk about this as well? I can't remember who agreed. I think really quite early on in Pastagang, Pastagang's about a year old, by the way. Probably should have said that. Pastagang's birthday is next month. And quite early on, there was this idea that Pastagang could write some kind of paper about our shared experiences of the jam and of Noodle and meeting each other and making the music and visuals that we make and everything else that we make. And when I first came across Pastagang, I was so excited by it for the reasons I mentioned earlier. And I saw this paper on the website, and I was like, that's so cute, but that will never, ever happen. You can't just have tens of people randomly contributing weird bits of personal experience and text to a paper. Anyway, it turns out I was totally wrong about that. So somebody put us forward for this, one member of Pastagang put us forward for this conference. I'm actually not sure who. Yeah, Pastagang did it. And so then we had a deadline, and it was okay, we'll write the paper. And it was such an amazing experience, being in the shared document and seeing this paper unfold as we were writing it, and for the structure of the paper to emerge from pure chaos and kind of nothingness into something that actually made a lot of sense. And not only did we write this paper, we probably have enough material for about 5 other papers off the back of it. And yeah, if you have got time, please read it, because I think it's a really beautiful piece of writing.
And of course, we jammed this talk and these slides, and this QR code actually works. So we can live code talks now. And we finished this half an hour ago, as you do with every good talk, right? And it was a lot of jamming, a lot of podcasting while trying to do a coherent talk that goes over everything that we wanted to. Here. There you go. Check out our paper. Join us in Noodle, and also join us later at Delicious Clam at 9:40. That's us. Thank you. I'm tired.
I said, thank you, I love the ethos of this so much. And now I've lost my train of thought. So we've gained back a lot of the time we lost. So we're almost back on track now. So we'll maybe do 2 questions, what do you think? Yeah. yeah. Any questions? We give a chance to someone else. It'll be equitable there. This time.
Although as members of Pastagang, you should all be able to answer this question.
Okay. Yeah, my question was just about the mantras. I wanted to know if more mantras.
Oh, we can find them, right?
If you.
Yeah, I'll try and remember some. So one is actually a borrowed mantra. Well, there's a few borrowed mantras. So there's a borrowed mantra from Toad Pond, which is normalize sharing scrappy fiddles. There is only one room. This is the mantra right now. I think we have energy yes, quality no. That's also borrowed, but that's my favorite one. That's from an artist called Thomas Hirschhorn, who has a really interesting philosophy that I think is also important. I would have talked about it today if we had more time, but I'll try not to talk about it too much now. But look it up, which is about energy being much more important than quality when it comes to art. Yeah, here's the rest of our mantras. So we love repetition. That one's by Alex. Thanks, Yaksu. That one's about Alex. Fuck off AI music is about somebody we know. But also, I think these are all good, to take. Some of them are kind of inside jokes. There's a lot of inside jokes in Pastagang, like the crow sample and things like that. But also, a lot of these are ideas you can take into the rest of your life. And that's why I think when we were talking on Thursday, we talked so much about how Pastagang's kind of infected everything else we do. The ethos and energy of Pastagang has kind of crept its way into other bits of our life. So even when we're not actively doing Pastagang stuff, we still have a little Pastagang mindworm that is influencing everything we do. And now you also have that. So sorry for passing on the infectious disease.
Oh, I'm not sorry.
The mindworm is a spaghetti. The mantras I think are really cool because they're a way we try and influence the space and influence the jam to keep it being as Pastagangy as we as Pastagang want it to be. Whereas I don't think if we had those mantras and those reminders, it might kind of go in a different direction.
Cool. Any more quick questions? Oh, right here. Okay.
Thank you so much for sharing. I was very interested about the emotional buffer that you mentioned. In other words, that you are allowed, you are encouraged to do mistakes. Is there anything else that you see that it's creating a buffer for the persons that are participating in Pastagang?
By relinquishing your, everything we do is by Pastagang. So if you do a mistake, right, it's never your mistake, it's Pastagang's mistake.
Why did you point at me when you said that?
I didn't mean to point at you. That was Pastagang's mistake.
Pastagang pointed at me.
It's part of a fail happy thing, right? If you celebrate failure in a way, if someone makes a loud noise or something and everyone's like, oh yeah, actually that was amazing, then you make mistakes less costly for the individual. So it's you encourage a world where you're now words fail me. Where you may more happy to just try out new things because you don't know if they're going to fail and don't know if they're going to work out or not. Does that answer your question?
Sort of, but we can discuss later.
Okay, yeah.
It's like how we cheer at technical difficulties in live coding performances, right? If your computer crashes and it all goes black, everyone goes, "Hey!" And you enjoy that, even though, oops, the performance has stopped. You don't let it be a negative thing. You can just get back up and keep going. It's fine, and everyone in the crowd is still having a good time. It's a similar sort of attitude.
Also, just to add, it's really fun to play with friends, and I think that takes away so much of the pressure when there's a lot of you. It's I'm just such a small part of this big thing, and I'm having a good time with people I just met, and the performances, especially the live performances, are always super chaotic because everyone in the crowd joins and then Noodle crashes and then nobody's laptop can handle it, so the sound is glitching all over the place, and it's just part of the atmosphere. So it's part of the fun to have those failures, that failure mode. And I think it's so lighthearted and kind of silly that I think even if somebody came along and tried to like professionalize Pastagang or like make it really formal in a way, it just wouldn't work. And so it's kind of naturally defended from those kind of like difficult attitudes around like performance and creation.
There was a follow-up question. These togetherness that you experience, does that make you gravitate towards wanting to jam face-to-face?
Okay, so the audience member asked if the togetherness of Pastagang makes us want to gravitate towards being together face to face and jam together. I think for me, like, it's super nice. Like, it feels much more anonymous online. And so there is a slightly different feeling when you just like pop into the Noodle room from your computer at home when you're by yourself, like maybe with your headphones on, than like being in a physical space with the other performers. It does feel really different, but I think both are good for different ways, I would say. I don't know if someone else wants to...
I would say yes and no. Like, I really do want to meet lots of Pastagangers and jam with them, but I also would like to meet them just to meet them. Like, the jamming is kind of optional in a good way, and I'm also happy to just jam with them online in Noodle.
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. There are a number of Pastagangers in the stream as well. That's what I was going to say. So yeah, another round of applause for Pastagang, please.